Good morning and good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube channel and CoffeeStream number 310. And it is Wednesday, which means it is a Wednesdays with Skep. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing fine. I didn't have a lot of sleep last night. I feel like we are just continuing, kind of partially continuing the stream last night. That was a good stream we had
It
on
was a good
Minions,
stream, yeah.
and but this morning it's interesting. We didn't really talk about the American presidential debates, the Democrat debates last night, but I understand there was some tremendously bad blood between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. So we might want to talk about that. What have you got in the hopper for today?
We've got I've got a couple of things. I've got the Senate is absolutely seeking to. It's got the resolution has 51 votes now to limit Trump's powers for war, like war powers in
Right.
Iran. We've got let's see what other things do I have here? We've got um, we've got a an STD map that shows that Maryland, a city in Maryland, is the highest ranked city in the nation for STDs, because of course. We've got a lady who a Florida woman, let's just say that,
Mm-hmm.
and our titular article about my glorious Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who is a piece of crap and couldn't even go 1 week before blaming Trump for the deaths of those Canadians on the airline.
Wow. So Trump really killed those Canadians.
Yep.
Whew, he's a bad, bad man. Bad Trump.
Yeah, he's a bad boy.
You know.
And I also I do have to say I do have Alex home because he has now got my cold.
Yeah.
So I'm going
He's
to have to.
he's just keeping it for you. He's keeping
He's
it
just
warm for you.
he's keeping it warm for me. Yes.
He'll reinfect you as soon as you get over the flu.
Yeah. Um. But actually, I was gonna ask if you could quickly say hi to chat for me because I need to
Absolutely.
grab Alex and put him in his bunk.
Absolutely, I've a number of things
I'll
we
be
can
right
go
back.
over here. So glad to do that. And hello, everyone in chat. He said stalling as he called up the watch page, and I hope everyone is having as good a day as I'm having, which basically has to do with me being successfully getting out of bed in the morning. But let's see who is here this morning. I see Furry Kitten and Cynical Lindsay. Hi, guys. Nice to have you with me. Ghost Dog. Nice to have you with me. Hi, Maddie. Very cool that you stopped by. And P Dog is there, and Green Badger. Mr. Dax is there, and let's see who else. RVA is there. Howdy, RVA. Yeah, hi, Pink Owl. Don't know where you're watching from, but always good to uh, have you here. He says, I'm going to go with before the store even starts that the city is Bethesda. Skep talk. You know what I'm talking about when I say Bethesda. Yeah, but well, I certainly know Bethesda. I mean, there is there's a lot there. Anyway, um, Furry Kitten. I think I already said Ginger Snap is there. Costin is here. Hi, Costin. uh, Maniac Man, and man, we got a big crowd today. Nice to have such a big crowd so early in the show. It's earlier than usual, which I love it when the audience shows up, as my favorite blind magician likes to say. So, and any of you who wonder what I'm talking about, Google Richard Turner on Penn and Teller. Fool us. He is a blind card sharp, card mechanic who does some of the most amazing things with a deck of cards you have ever seen. And the fact that he's blind just absolutely makes it fundamentally amazing. It's you you see what he's doing, but you just kind of can't believe it. He does some you know, tricks that seem impossible for a sighted person to be able to do. To be blind to do that just simply beggars the imagination, but he does it right in front of your face. You cannot deny it's happening. So that's a guy who has really devoted the time to do that. And so, anyway, um, let's see. Binkala was talking about it was considered the number one STD infected base when I was in Norfolk. Horny medics. I suppose he's talking about the Bethesda Naval Navy Regional Medical Center at Bethesda, Maryland, and that's also where the med school, the Armed Forces Med School, is at Bethesda, and they are the med students are well known uh, for, shall we say, dating the nurses there. We'll call it dating, and there's a lot of dating that goes on, and a lot of people date other people after they've dated another person, and sometimes if somebody has a penis cold, they can pass on their penis cold to other penises, and so forth. So this happens. It's part of life there at Bethesda, and I've known a few people who have gone through the medical school there and have served there, and they never dated anybody, as it were, from there. But there you go. Anyway, dating equals shagging in the linen closet, more or less. Yes, I like nurses too. I think we all do. Blind Press says almost done. Promise, excellent. We're patient lot. Blind Press. I was talking with Blind Press uh, just before the stream started about what happened at the end of the Democratic debate last night. And it's one of those things that stuck in my mind for how low class it was. Elizabeth Warren is a couple of podia, I don't know. Anyway, podiums away from Bernie Sanders at the close of the debate. And as soon as the debate is over and the mics are click off, she starts talking to him, and it's not a happy talk. She is lecturing him. You know, you could almost hear the Charlie Brown parents. And she is talking a mile a minute, and he's looking at her, and he extends his hand to shake hands with her, and she yanks her hand back in a fist, and holds the fist in front of her, you know, and she even gets more angry then, and you can tell that she's just delivering a whole bunch of invective there. I don't know about anybody else, but somebody who shows that kind of immaturity, do we really want to consider them for president? I mean, is that really presidential timber? Is do we really think that Elizabeth Warren is of presidential stature, or Bernie Sanders for that matter? He at least was willing to shake hands. He was doing the classy thing. Somebody who shows that kind of lack of class that Elizabeth Warren, that kind of pettiness, that brittle anger that suddenly flares up, doesn't just fill me with confidence that they're going to be even handed and calm in handling uh, stressful situations like in foreign policy that might make them angry. For example, I can see somebody like Kim Jong il really making somebody angry, really frustrating you. And if you get frustrated and angry like that, you might lash out and do something that in a more temperate moment, if you had better control of your emotions, you might do. You might not do. You might exercise some restraint and do something more moderate. I think that Elizabeth Warren is a snap mind. I think she's a little bit crazy. It this I suspected that a little bit when people questioned her closely about are taxes going to increase? And she will not answer that question. She won't say the Y word to that question because taxes obviously have to increase. I mean, she's talking about a 23 trillion trillion dollar program. Yes, taxes are going to increase, but she keeps saying costs are going to go down. For whom? And what level of care will we get? But when you question her closely about that, she starts to get hysterical and angry. She protests that you don't have the right to question her like that. That does not bode well for a presidential candidate. That does not look presidential to me. I'm sorry, but I just don't think she would make a very good president. I don't think Bernie would make a very good president either because he's a fucking communist, and that's fucking communists make bad presidents. I think somebody who doesn't believe in market solutions, uh, I don't believe they can be president of the United States. See, the reason that state-run economies don't do very well. I said this last night uh, on stream, but I'm going to say it again because I think it bears repeating. Is that markets are able to find solutions to problems that nobody else is thinking of. The If you had done a poll, this actually was polled.
I'm sorry for taking so long.
Oh, that's okay. I was just explaining something about market-driven solutions and why socialism is a bad idea for a presidential candidate. If you let me finish the thought, I'll just quick get this
No
out
worries.
there.
Go ahead.
And that is that a state-planned economy, with state-run things, doesn't anticipate innovative solutions. It's never as innovative as a capitalist-based solution. For example, if you had polls and surveys indicated in the 19th century that the solution to uh, horse-based transportation was faster horses that ate less and pooped less. Okay, they said that's what we have to develop. Nobody was talking about developing an automobile. It took the market to produce an automobile. In a planned economy, they simply would have continued to refine the horses because there's a very unhealthy conservatism that takes over a state planned economy. People who are in charge of planning want things to keep running the same old way.
Right.
And innovation causes sometimes startling and sometimes uncomfortable change. And that always will be resisted in a socialist type of economy, which means that basically that progress is being resisted by someone who doesn't want any change because they don't want their apple cart upset.
Right.
In business school, this is taught as something called suboptimization. This is the classic scenario is where you retard the progress of the company as a whole in order to make your particular department within the company look good, so you get a promotion.
Got it.
You see a better solution coming from somebody else's department, and you say, "Oh, I don't want him to get the credit."
Yeah.
So you try and step on that solution and keep it from getting any momentum or any visibility with the people who make the decisions about funding stuff, so that you look better. That happens. That's called just another day at the office in socialist government, and that's what you're courting if you consider nominating someone like Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren for a significant office. So that's all I'm trying to say.
Well, we know what's dangerous about electing people, especially like Bernie Sanders, is that he doesn't know. First of all, it's scary that he's an economist and doesn't know this shit.
Well, he's not an economist. He has a degree in political science. He has no background whatsoever.
Guy.
No, he hasn't. He wouldn't know an economy if it came up, bit him in the bottom, and said, "I'm here."
You can tell.
Yeah,
but
he understands nothing.
He doesn't know the first thing about his own nation's economy.
Yes.
And then he starts saying shit like Canada has universal health care.
Yes.
And people believe him.
Right. Well, let 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 me let's put this in perspective. Bernie was a C and D student in college. He barely
Right.
graduated.
Right.
Okay, with a degree in poli sci, which is not the hardest curriculum to get a degree in, shall we say?
Yeah.
So he was an indifferent student at best. He's basically a stupid man with a big loud mouth and a love for socialism. That's why he loves socialism, is because he's not smart enough to see past it. I mean, that's literally the truth with Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
He literally is a stupid man in a very powerful position. It's like a 3-year old with a revolver, in a crowded auditorium.
Yeah.
It's kind of a dangerous thing. So he doesn't know anything about economics, but he hears, well, there's a universe, and Canada has healthcare, so they have universal healthcare. Because
Yeah,
they
pretty
have universal
much.
health care, because there's a government thing. I don't know how it works, because you have to read and stuff, and I hate that. But I just want it to be true, so I'm a socialist. It'll be
Yeah.
true.
Pretty much.
And that really, I kid a little bit there, but that's not that far away from the way he parses things, the way that he treats with reality is he basically takes the stuff that he likes and ignores the rest. He doesn't do an even-handed survey of all the different things, and nobody is perfect at that. But he's not very
He
good
doesn't
at it
even
at all.
try.
Yeah, he's completely prejudiced. So anyway, yeah, don't get me. So anyway, you were saying he says stuff like universal health care, which is obviously false.
And I swear he would be on one of those. Do you remember back in I don't know if you remember this in like 2008 when Canada was starting to talk about euthanasia.
Yes,
The
and we're not talking about
states,
young Chinese people either.
no, the states went, like, there were some media outlets that went bananas.
Hmm.
And I guarantee you, Bernie was one of the death panels guys.
Oh yeah,
I freaking guarantee it. About, and when I say death panels, some people may be going, what the fuck are you talking about? There was a legitimate push from the US media that we up here, when we were speaking of assisted suicide, were really coming up with an evil plot to put every senior citizen on a waiting list to kill them.
right.
I'm not shitting you.
No,
This was an actual narrative that was happening. It
well,
was
the people were
ridiculous.
fantasizing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
and
it was crazy.
yeah.
And I guarantee you Bernie was one of those guys.
Well, death panels in the United States has a different meaning.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but the death panels actually would exist had Obamacare been fully implemented. And these would
Yeah,
have
and
been
that
panels of doctors who would say, okay, this life is worth expending these resources, so we're going to give him the
yeah.
surgery, as opposed to saying we're just going to give palliative care because it's not, you don't have enough life, or the life that you have is not worth enough to the state.
Yeah.
And that's what it is the worth to the state that they were going to make the decisions upon.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about that. I'm not actually entirely unsympathetic to the role of the bureaucrats there. I just don't think that they should be making that decision.
No.
The decision about whether or not you can get the care that you need at the end of your life should be a function of, first of all, to a certain extent, I actually do support the idea that, there should be a basic level of care offered to you that at least can keep you comfortable through your dying time.
Yes.
Okay, because it's too easy to do. It's cheap. It's inexpensive to pump someone full of drugs and wait for them to die.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean and that's basically what that is. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with not feeling agonizing pain and dying. If you've ever watched one of my family members, well, actually more than one, but one in particular, I watched her die of ovarian cancer.
Oh,
Let me tell you, there's that's one of the most painful deaths that you can have. And this person was famous for her high threshold of pain. She didn't complain much.
mm,
And I saw her laid low by the stuff. I won't go into the details, but it, it it really made me attuned to the need for palliative care
mm-hmm.
for people who are, in like an end stage cancer and stuff like that. And or another one is ALS. It's a very can be a very painful death, the Lou Gehrig's disease. Certain forms of multiple sclerosis, uh, cerebral palsy, cystic fibrosis. I mean, there are a number of things that can kill you very, very painfully.
Yeah.
And I believe that we should, you know, offer those at no cost. I mean, it's we spend more money in the United States budget researching the mating habits of marmosets. This is literally true, by the
Yeah.
way, than what it would cost to fund all of the medicine for all of the people dying of those painful things every year. Okay, so let's take the marmoset money and employ it to keep, moderate older people's suffering,
Yeah.
or people who are dying suffering, or children who are dying, dying of
Yes.
cancer and stuff. Let's alleviate their suffering. But so I'm not unsympathetic to the fact that somebody has to be making those decisions, but I think a basic level of care should be offered. Beyond that, it's what you can afford.
Mm-hmm.
It's whatever kind of insurance you happen to have, plus or minus whatever money you've got socked away.
Yeah.
So if you want to go to a Swiss youth treatment thing and have the Nancy Pelosi eyebrows and the phony smooth skin that has been debrided with aloe and dove wing fuzz or whatever the hell they do, to and you can afford that, knock yourself out.
Yep.
On the other hand, I don't think people should suffer before they die needlessly, and most of that suffering is needless. And
Yes.
so, I think people should be treated accordingly. Anyway, I don't. This is kind of a morose thing to get off on, but talking about death panels and things like that. Uh, there are in fact these are in fact big problems that society is going to have to face. We're going to have to face more and more of it, particularly as the boomers like me age, and then we're starting to die. I'm losing friends left and right. It's heartbreaking, really. It's your high school mates start dying on you. It's just horrifying, really. I can't even begin to tell you. Anyway, so that's a happy thought.
Speaking of happy thoughts,
Yeah, let's have more happiness.
Let's look at an STD map.
Oh, sure. Well, hell yeah. Let's do that. Me.
STD map ranks Baltimore as worst U.S. city for sexually transmitted diseases. See where your town stands.
Wait a
Oh
minute.
my god. But, it's racist to say that Baltimore is a shithole, right?
Right. Well, but it is a shithole.
But it is a shithole. And look, here's some more proof. Oh my god. An STD map ranks Baltimore's worst U.S. city for sexually transmitted diseases as they run rampant in the South and California. Testing experts at Interbody analyzed the CDC data to reveal the top 100 cities with the highest STD rates, and Baltimore came in at number one. Out of 100 cities, really, Baltimore?
Wow, testing out at Interbody analyze CDC data. Okay, I mean that CDC data, you can if it's the highest STD rates. So I guess they're saying general populace,
Yeah.
and Baltimore came in number one. I'd like to see how they did that. Analysis of the latest statistics on a city by city basis showed Baltimore had the highest per capita with 2,004 cases reported per 100,000. But
Wow.
here's the thing. Let's talk about this for a second. If consider Florida, for example, let's say Miami.
Right.
In Miami, there are a shit ton of old people, people who are over 70 years old.
Yes.
There's a crap ton of them. That's going to dilute any per capita information that you have. So if you have a similar rate as Baltimore, or even a somewhat higher rate than Baltimore, because there is such an artificially high number of older people who do not have STDs, that rate, that per capita rate, is going to be low. So what you have to do is you have to do it per capita and by age basis.
Yes.
So which means that you have to know the age of the people with the STD, and you have to know the number of people in that age, which is a moving target.
Yes.
It's harder than you think. It's fairly easy to estimate. It's hard to know exactly what that is because, like I said, it's a moving target. People age every day.
Yes.
And anyway, when they say highest per capita, I wonder if they corrected for age, and I wonder what else they may have had to correct for that they did or did not. That sounds like a let's see, what is inner body?
I don't know. I've never heard of.
Let's see what inner body is. Skep is going to do a little analysis while in front of your very eyes. Inner body, find the best test for you. Home health testing, www.innerbody.com. I think this is it. Turn to our testing experts to help you find the best at home health test. We cover DNA health testing, STD testing, heavy muscles testing, ancestry testing. What's that? Is that to see if you have an ancestry?
I think what they mean is instead of your DNA testing for like for health purposes, I think they mean like those stupid kids.
Yeah. Okay, and so STD rates, the top 100. Which American cities and states have the most STD? This is actually
The map.
the map. So I'm going to look at this. Our researchers analyzed the CDC's most recent STD statistics to create an interactive STD hotspot map. Yay! Will I catch anything if I play with it? And it's not the first time I ever said that. Anyway, and determined the top 100 U.S. cities with the highest STD rates. We point out our findings, key trends that we are seeing. Is your city on the list? Read more. Okay, so we come down here and we see this. So if I go to, for example, Duluth, Superior, Minnesota, population 199,000. Chlamydia cases, so they're doing it on raw population.
Okay.
Chlamydia 888, gonorrhea 174, syphilis 3, total STD cases 1065, STD cases per 100,000 people 533. And basically, you have the categories that they have are 0 to 250, 250 to 500, 500 to 750, 750 to 1,000, 1,000 to 1250, and anything over 1,250 per 100,000 people. So 1,250 would be 1% of the population. Is that right? No, 0.1% of the population is infected. So 1 in 1,000 people is infected. And let's see, where are those places? Those places are in, wait for it, Navajo, Arizona.
Really?
Population 110,000. Chlamydia cases 884. Gonorrhea 336. Syphilis 6. Total STD cases 1,226. And the STD cases per 100K people are 1,110.
Jesus.
Holy crap. That's basically 1 in 100.
It's called
people.
a condom, people. Use it.
Oh my God. That's hilarious. Next, the neighboring area, and these are, by the way, Indian, or I mean Native American reservation areas. Apache, Arizona. This is actually the Sibiki Apache Arizona reservation. I did a like a 40-page term paper on this place.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know. 50 years ago. Anyway, it's not important right now. Population is 71,000. Chlamydia is 639. Gonorrhea 167. 7 syphilis. 5 golden rings. 4 callingbirds. 3 blackbirds. And it's 1,132 STD cases per 100K people. So the hotbeds there are that, and then Cibola, New Mexico, which is another Apache reservation. They call them the Cibola Apaches.
Interesting.
And here you have a population of 26,000, chlamydia 244, gonorrhea 121. No syphilis, though. Total of 365. So there you go. Anyway, in Texas, there's no really high one. Well, let's see. Wait a minute. Okay. Dimmitt, Texas. Population 10,308. Chlamydia is 84. Gonorrhea is 9. No syphilis. Total STD is 93. And it's 902. So that's like the highest in Texas.
Wow.
Dimmitt is right on the Mexican border. You have to know where Dimmitt is. It's basically a bunch of whorehouses and a bar in one of the very, very big counties right on the Rio Grande, out in the middle of the desert. So it's one of
Nothing
those.
to do.
Yeah, nothing to do but get it on with the hookers. So let's see if there's any other. Looks like there's one in Vermont. Is that Vermont or New York? Jefferson, New York has about 660,000 people, has 6,000 chlamydia cases, 3,000 gonorrhea cases, and 97 syphilis cases. 9,000. So they're STD cases per 100K people are 1,372.
God
so
damn.
They're in the highest, and that is like in far, far western Vermont. So far western Vermont that it actually just barely crosses over into New York.
Okay.
There's that. And then Maine. In Hancock, Maine. You can't make this stuff up. Here in Hancock, we got an STD problem. Well, I'm surprised. It's a, but unless people are spraining their hands. But no, it's not that type of STD. It's chlamydia 70 and gonorrhea 27. Population of 8,300 people. They're having fun up there, and 1,100 cases per 100,000 people. So that's kind of interesting, and it's just here and there where you can kind of see the fracking business. You can see the oil hands are all getting STDs because the whores are all going up there, like Corson, South Dakota.
Yeah.
And up in Phillips, Montana, Rosebud, Montana, Billings, Montana, Bighorn, Wyoming, Bighorn and Hancock have STD problems. Who knew? Anyway, yeah. And Bighorn, Hancock, and Flagstaff. I don't even know what to say about that. So those are some hotbeds of sexually transmitted diseases. I think we beat this one into the ground. California led all states with the most cities in the top 100 with 7 cities. Ohio and Texas tied for the second most cities, both of which had 6 each. And The cities with the biggest jump in rankings: Columbus, Georgia, was up 17 spots from 32nd to 15th. They're very proud of that there. Jackson, Mississippi, where there's nothing to do but hit the sack, is up 13 spots.
Oh boy.
But San Francisco, and you got to be proud of this, came up for all the way from 16th to 4th.
Oh wow! I was gonna say, what is it, number 2?
Yeah, they're hoping for a first place finish next year. Milwaukee was up 11 spots from 18th to 7th, and Baltimore went all the way from 6th to 1st, and that's what San Francisco is hoping for next year.
It jumps 5. Wow.
Yeah.
Shall we head on to Florida?
Yes.
Let's go to Florida. Let's learn about this intrepid bomb maker. All the supplies she needed to cause mass destruction. Florida woman accused of trying to build bomb in a Walmart. Because
you do.
Why not?
Really? Was this the lady with the mason jar bomb? Was that the?
I don't know. I didn't hear about that.
I think I heard something about this. Tampa, Florida. A woman in Tampa, Florida is facing charges after authorities say she tried to build a bomb inside a Walmart on Saturday. That's probably the same story you have, right?
Yeah.
According to a sheriff's office news release, a store security guard caught Emily Stallard, 37, going through store aisles and opening items. Those items included projectiles. I didn't even know they sold those there. Matches and flammable materials. The guard called police and Stallard was detained. There was a child with her at the time. Stallard is charged with offenses including attempted arson, firebombing, child abuse, and battery on a law enforcement officer.
Well then.
Okay. So
because there's nothing that says let's have a fun Saturday than taking your kid to Walmart and killing them and other people by making a bomb.
My God! And it said Emily Stallard built what appeared to be a homemade explosive in a mason jar filled with nails, denatured alcohol, and a candle. According to NBC Tampa affiliate WFLA, she had been roaming around a Tampa, Florida store with her son for more than an hour when the security guard deemed her behavior suspicious. An hour? It took you an hour? Okay. And off duty, if somebody is roaming around a Walmart for an hour
and not
buying
things in their cart,
exactly, right? I'm going to stop them and say, "Can I help you?"
Yeah.
Right. An off-duty police officer and the security guard were able to stop Stallard as she was about to light the candle and set off the bomb.
Oh, my God.
Stallard resisted arrest. Imagine my shock. And she was charged with attempting arson, firebombing, child abuse, and battery of a law enforcement officer, according to her arrest record by Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department. This woman had all the supplies she needed to cause mass destruction at her disposal, Sheriff Chad Chronister said in a statement, who said Stallard might have tried to detonate the explosive inside the Walmart. And her bond was set at $8,500, and she remained in jail as of Tuesday morning. So there you go.
That's wow. Mom of the freaking year, that one.
I always said the Stallard girl was up to no good.
Yeah.
Just
Stallard. Was always fucking around with my animals, and I never liked it.
That's right. Never could get her out of the farmhouse. The corral. Anyway, so yeah, there you go. That's kind of fun. I'm watching the suspects in deadly home invasion. A woman is accused of trying to build. Oh, okay. Anyway, so what else you got?
Frig off. Hey, Wall. So the Senate, I was gonna talk about the Senate, preparing to
on the War Powers Act
limit Trump's powers, but I just hit a paywall, so we
Well,
can't
and
read this
I've got some
article.
information about that.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Actually, let's go back to Friday. The House passed legislation Friday with limits on President Donald Trump's ability to strike Iran without the consent of Congress, one of several proposed provisions to curb his war powers that were added to the annual defense policy bill. Among other provisions that attracted progressives, mostly repelled Republicans in the House, the war powers language could get attention in the Senate, where lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have sought to check the president on foreign policy. House voted along partisan lines 220 to 197 to advance the bill that authorizes $733 billion, got three-quarters of $1 trillion for fiscal 2020. And that's $17 billion less than the White House and Republicans were seeking. The additions to the bill reflect House Democrats' desire to rein in Trump on military matters, notably through a bipartisan amendment to bar the president from offensive action against Iran without Congress express authorization. That measure passed 250 to 170 in the House, as 27 Republicans voted with the majority and 7 Democrats voted with the minority. So it's kind of bipartisan both ways.
Yeah.
And so blah 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 blah.
But why are they trying to do this? Are they trying to is it
Here's what's
because he's Trump, or is it because of things that like W did and Obama did?
here's the thing. What they want to do is when Republican is in charge, they want to rein him in.
Right.
If a Democrat is in charge, then they want the chance to participate in the glory of letting the Democratic president do whatever they want. So if like Hillary Clinton were elected president of the United States, she's basically a foreign policy hawk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she will use force at the drop of a hat. You know, if you piss her off, she'll go straight to the army. She'll drop bombs on your head.
Yeah.
I mean, she is probably the most warlike Democrat to come along in a long time. She's very different from Obama in that. Obama is kind of a drone guy.
Mm-hmm.
Hillary wants to get it on all the way.
Yeah.
I mean, she wants to destroy your fucking country. She's got an evil streak. Obama thought he was being surgical and cute and so forth with the drone strikes.
Yeah.
And there's probably a case to be made for that. Anyway, but with Trump in the White House, they just want to limit him. And there's some Republicans that hate Trump too. I mean, it's easy not to like Trump. He doesn't make himself very likable. If he the fact that he's made mostly good decisions on both foreign policy and domestic policy just makes the Democrats more mad at him. It
Yes.
makes the never Trumpers more angry at him. And if he was doing a bad job, I really think he would be impeached, and I think the Republicans would be on board with it
Mm-hmm.
because the $64 question is: would Mike Pence be an improvement?
Hell no.
Well, if if he was really truly being irresponsible, if he was doing things that were starting to get the United States into trouble, then Mike Pence might be an improvement. One thing about Mike Pence is you'll get nothing but a steady Eddie. You'll basically get a very status quo, stodgy conservative guy whose most distinctive and controversial amendment he'll try and get a constitutional amendment banning burning the American flag. That's the type of thing that Pence would do. That would be his focus, his legacy. He's a small thinker who thinks small, even by small thinking standards. Which is one of the reasons Trump chose him. Is that look, if you get rid of me, you're going to get a small-minded theocrat, basically.
Yeah.
A guy who wants more God government. Think about it.
Yeah.
You
A real live creationist, yeah.
Yeah, a real life creationist, a guy who doesn't believe that evolution should be taught in school.
Yeah.
And Pence doesn't believe that.
No,
I
he
mean,
didn't.
Pence believes that evolution should not be
Yes, he
taught
does.
in
Yep.
school, or that it should be taught as one possible theory
Yeah.
along with the accepted truth of creation science,
Yeah.
which is
The opposite
Fantasy
of what,
Island.
which is the opposite of what should be happening.
Yeah, right, right, exactly, which is the opposite of science.
You teach evolution, and then in a class like world religions, you discuss creation story myths and
Sure,
whatever, and
discuss
you
whatever
educate
Bronze Age
yourself. Yeah,
religion you want to go for.
you educate yourself on the history of humanity that way. You don't like, because that's important, right?
Yeah,
To learn about how we to be on the nose evolved
yeah,
from you know believing in like legitimately believing in a creation story, to we go, okay, now we can scientifically see the progression of things.
right. We can
um
deduce from the what from just the physics that we understand now about the
yeah.
universe. We can deduce some things about the state of things. A billion, 5 billion, 10 billion, and now 14 billion years ago, 13.7 billion years ago. We can really get this back. We can work the numbers out to just a few microseconds after the Big Bang. We've got it all figured out
Yeah.
mathematically from there. The So
we
let's
even have
teach
a
that.
we even have a picture of the universe from, I think it's 380,000 years after the Big Bang. I
Yes.
think Hubble took that picture.
Well,
Or not
yeah,
Hubble.
it's the deep field, not the deep field. It's the cosmic radiation background,
Yeah.
which is basically the echo of the Big Bang,
Yes.
and it shows the distribution basically of matter in our observable universe, and it makes a lot of sense based on what we think happened and how we think it happened. So let's teach that, and
Agreed.
let's teach creation myths and things like that in anthropology and religion courses where they belong.
Yes.
Where we say, hey, ancient man had to have a way to rationalize what he observed, and he didn't have the physics to put together a very accurate detailing of what happened. So he said there must have been a guy,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy said, "Let there be light." And he
There
must have
was.
said, let there be water. Yeah, that's it. And he divided the water from the land. Okay, and so forth and so on. I mean, uh, the one thing about ancient religions, they uh, why don't they tell us about atoms?
Oh, they tell us
If they
about
knew
one
everything,
atom.
huh?
One religion tells us about one atom.
Yeah, and Eve.
No,
But seriously,
I know what you mean.
what? Why didn't Paul explain the nature of neutrons, to
Yeah.
us, and electrons
Simon
and
should have been on electrons. Paul could
yeah,
have been on neutrons. Peter could have done the protons. You
yeah,
know.
and the scions and the leptons and so forth. All the various parts of matter, all the things that you know make up our universe. Why did why didn't they talk about that? Well, the reason was they didn't know. Why? Because they were ordinary men, just like we were. They
Exactly.
didn't have a supernatural connection. They, you know, it, there was not anything like that. In point of fact, we don't know what exists outside our universe. We don't know what things, you know, occurred that caused the Big Bang to happen. We don't have a way of knowing that right now. But it's okay to say we
We
don't
don't.
know.
Exactly.
And the thing was that people felt very insecure prior to this, saying I don't know. And some other people said, you know what? I could get a bunch of people together and get them to give me money if I said I
Mm-hmm.
did know.
Yep.
And I said, and what are they afraid of most? Death. Okay, I'll promise them eternal life if they do what I tell them and if they give me their dough.
Yep.
Sweet. And voila, religion was born.
Yep.
The rest of it is just a retelling of that principle over and over and over again.
Seth
I'm sorry,
MacFarlane.
that's the truth.
Seth MacFarlane did a really good and clever joke in Family Guy about religion,
What did he
and
say?
there's because it was in one of these because Family Guy does flashback comedy, so
Yeah.
they set up the joke and then they flash back and act it out. So they somebody sets it up. This was like this is a before organized religion. People got along just fine, right? And then it flashes back to these two guys who walk up to each other, and one of them is I have nothing. I have nothing no quarrel with you, right? And the
Okay.
other guy goes, and I have no quarrel with you. And then the first guy goes, say, did you hear about that magic baby that was born in Bethlehem? And then they both they stab and kill each other.
No, he's born in Mecca.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's just it was perfect. It was
That's wonderful. That's excellent. That is pretty hilarious.
what's not hilarious though is my goddamn prime minister.
Well, yeah, he's unintentionally cringe funny, but it stopped being funny and now it's just cringe.
Yeah, so I opened Twitter this morning and
Yes.
I see a tweet from the Washington Examiner.
And they said,
And this is the headline, or this is the article they tweeted.
yes.
So, of course, I grabbed it.
Mm.
So, Justin Trudeau blames U.S. escalation for Iran's downing of Ukraine airplane. He couldn't last a week. He couldn't last a week.
So, what? I did he do this on Twitter?
I'm not sure if it was a video or um if there
I'm
was.
gonna find out real quick. Justin Trudeau. All right, what do we got? Let's see. Trudeau believes that um, Trump bears some responsibility for the accidental downing that killed 176. I think that if there were no tensions, if there was no escalation recently in the region, those Canadians would be right now at home with their families. Okay, says Justin Trudeau. He's got his little manlet beard.
Yep.
How cute. Justin Trudeau blames escalation between Trump and Iran for the deaths of 63 Canadians in the crash of Flight 752. Canadian uh, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has suggested that President Donald Trump bear some responsibility for Iran's downing of a commercial plane last week, an accident that happened hours after Iran retaliated against the U.S. for assassinating its top military leader. In a new interview, the cuck argued that Iran never would have shot the plane down, killing all 176 passengers and crew members, including 63 Canadians, if the conflict between U.S. and Iran hadn't recently been escalated.
How can he?
Here's his quote: "If there were no tensions, if there was no escalation, recently in the region, those Canadians would be right now home with their families drinking a few of their favorites."
Don't you
Trudeau, don't you know? Trudeau told Canada's Global News in an interview Monday. That was my Canadian accent. So Trump's decision to kill Iran's top military leader, Major General Qasem Soleimani, sparked fears of a larger confrontation between the two countries, causing Iran to blow up the airliner. Iran retaliated by launching a missile strike against two air bases in Iraq that were housing U.S. troops, that then shot down the Ukrainian International Airlines Flight 752 just minutes after it took off from Tehran in what the government called a tragic accident that took place as Iran was anticipating a U.S. counterattack. So they thought, because we counterattack with the 737, that's how
because counterattacks come in the form of 737s from your own fucking airport.
Right, exactly.
Whatever.
Yeah, the other thing was our satellites. And I got this off of one of our service link websites, was that here's what the shooting looked like to us as we watched it from our satellites and our radar detection stuff. The plane takes off, and like 5 seconds after it clears the end of the runway, the Iranian radar was on it. And the Iranian radar was on it for a long time, the targeting radar, in which we can detect very easily. They had this thing locked. And so they watched it. They watched it start to climb to altitude, and then they just basically shot it out of the sky.
Yeah.
So they had radar on this thing from the time it took off. It almost makes it look like they did it on purpose. It's hard to imagine that they had any idea that this was anything but intentional. Yeah. Anyway, the Canadian leader said he obviously would have preferred that the U.S. government warned him that it was planning the deadly strike against Soleimani. Yeah, that would have gone well. Yeah, because
that's how that works.
You're right. We're going to
shut up, Justin.
You know,
Trump needs your freaking permission. What?
Right. Sorry, faggot. It doesn't work that way. Nothing against gay people there. Nearly half the people traveling on flight 752 were Iranian, and the Iranian government's acknowledgement Friday that it shot down the aircraft has sparked days of protests in Tehran and other Iranian cities. By the way, did you know that they had 6 nuclear scientists aboard that aboard that plane? People who worked in the nuclear industry, most of them with master's degree, but they had one guy with a PhD, and they just blew it out of the sky. That was. I
wonder if those people were all people that said, "No, we're not going to help you do anything."
They were all Iranian who had family in Canada. All 6 of them. So yeah. See, also, Trump reportedly told associates he killed Qasem Soleimani because he was under pressure from GOP senators before his impeachment trial. Do you believe that?
I don't buy that.
I'm not buying that. Let's see what this says. President Donald Trump told associates that he assassinated Iran's top military leader last week, in part to appease Republican senators who will play a crucial role in his Senate impeachment trial, the Wall Street Journal reported on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, because they're so, what's it called? What believable?
Yeah, right. They have so much credibility.
Smear campaigns that they've run in 2019.
Yeah, we totally. In a lengthy piece detailing how the president's top advisors coalesced behind the strike on Iranian Major Qasem Soleimani, the Journal reported that Trump had told associates he felt pressured to satisfy senators who were pushing for stronger U.S. action against Soleimani and who will run defense for him on impeachment. One of Trump's most outspoken supporters, GOP Senator Lindsey Graham, appears to be the only congressional lawmaker Trump briefed about his plan to assassinate Soleimani in the days leading up to the strike. I was briefed about the potential operation when I was down in Florida, Graham told Fox News. I appreciate being brought into the orbit. The South Carolina Republican and Iran hawk celebrated the controversial strike, which the administration did not seek congressional authorization to carry out after Iran retaliated by hitting U.S.-occupied Iraqi bases on Tuesday. Graham called the move an act of war.
But it's not.
Well, Graham was calling about Iran retaliating.
Oh, I thought he was calling saying that Trump was
No. Okay. Graham is on Trump's side here. Good. Graham has criticized the president's foreign policy choices in the past, most notably Trump's withdrawal of troops from northern Syria and his handling of Saudi Arabia following the country's murder of the journalist Jamal Khashoggi, a U.S. resident. Trump said on Thursday he approved the strike on Soleimani because the general was plotting to bomb the U.S. embassy in Iraq and because Trump was feeling particularly festive that day. But the administration hasn't released any evidence to support the claim that Iran was planning such an attack on any embassy or any other imminent attack. During an interview with Fox News on Thursday night, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said that the Trump administration didn't know precisely when or precisely where an attack would have targeted. They just knew it was going to happen. Democratic lawmakers and a few Republicans were infuriated by a classified briefing they received from Trump administration on Wednesday concerning the U.S. airstrike that killed Soleimani and another top Iraqi militant leader, actually a big Hezbollah guy, the head of the biggest militia in Hezbollah. It was a nice twofer. The lawmakers said they weren't provided any evidence of an imminent specific threat posed by Soleimani. Oh, come on, really? Evidence? It's like saying, we didn't have any evidence of an imminent specific threat posed by Mr. Hitler, evidence which is required to legally launch an attack without congressional authorization. The alleged 6 million deaths, yes, okay. Republican Senator Mike Lee called the briefing, which Pompeo helped lead, probably the worst briefing, at least on a military issue, I've seen in 9 years I've been here. Mike Lee's his panties are in a wad, and I don't really understand why. So I don't really understand.
Well, unfortunately, I hear an upset Alex.
Oh,
so
okay.
I am going to have to.
We made an hour anyway.
We made an hour. I'm gonna have to go be momsy again.
Yeah, go be momsy. But it was fun, at least laughing at some of the horror in the world. Let's.
And I would like to thank all 27 people.
Yeah,
watching.
Jack Gunsky is here. Evil Dead Ed is here. Mr. Dax. Got a lot of folks.
Sorry I wasn't able to keep an eye on chat. I left Alex with my phone playing an Anne McCaffrey book because he's obsessed with dragons, and I'm like, you want to listen to dragons? Here, you can listen to one of my dragon books, buddy.
Yep. And but want to thank everybody in chat who came out. Seriously, thank you for coming out and spending your time with us. You only have so many hours in your life, and that you would devote one to coming and hanging with my friend and me is big fun. Thank you for having me on. It's always fun.
No worries.
I don't take this for granted either. Just as I don't take chat for granted, I don't take this for granted. It's a real privilege and always fun to come on and blab my ass off.
Also, come join us again tomorrow on Minions. Prospero will be hosting.
Yes, I'll be there too.
And I will be there.
Yep.
I am still hunting up a guest for Friday, but hopefully I will find one.
Yay.
And we will have another coffee stream on Friday. And I am going to bug Dax and see if he and Polly have come up with a third episode.
Yes. Do we know 2 episodes now?
Yes, we know Revulsion and... Oh, shit. What was the other one that he said? I know it. Oh, yeah, False Prophets.
Oh, that's right. I already, I
thought it was a great episode.
Yeah, I like False Prophets. I haven't watched Revulsion, I don't think.
That's season 4, episode 5. It's a good one too.
Okay, well, I'll watch those 2, and I'll be watching your Twitter.
All right.
See if you put it out, and I guess that'll wrap it up for today. Go take care of your youngsters.
I will. And, thanks for watching, everybody.
Bye, everybody.